Alright, I got my 2013 Hyundai Sonata here. We're going to be replacing the headlight bulbs, the high and low beams on here today. And I'm going to go ahead and get the fog lamps while I'm at it. I'm going to be actually putting some LEDs on here, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I hadn't used this brand before. This is the fog lamps we're going to be using. And these are going to be H11 equivalent, and these are the H7 is the type of bulb. Now, like with the halogen lamps, you don't want to be sticking your fingers and touching the LED chips because it can cause them to burn out. Now, what's important here, and I'll show you the comparison of the bulb in a second, but you want to make sure this housing is like the original. You notice how it's got this thin metal housing and has the notch here. That's actually going to go down, but that's what's important because of the spring clip that holds this in here. If you get something that's too thick, it's not going to be able to clip properly. It's probably not even going to work. And of course, we got the plug. Want to make sure that's going to plug in. Now, the original bulb will be a little bit different because it won't have this. So anyways, we're going to go ahead. I'm going to show you where these are located. Okay, just to show you on the headlight assembly, this is going to be our high beam over here, and here's our low beam. And of course, right down here is going to be our fog lamp. Now, this one's a little bit trickier to get to if you have all of the shrouds and stuff underneath, but I'll show you how we're going to replace that too. Okay, so we got our hood up, and you can see that as we come in here, of course, this is going to be our high. This is going to be our low. These are very easy to get to. All we have to do is twist this cap to get access, and then we have a spring clip. If you come over this side, there's even more room over here. And I said you just got to twist the cap and they come right out. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how we're going to replace these now. Okay, so here we are. We're just going to start with this and just kind of note this. It's got some markings on it here. Just note where it's at. You're going to turn it just a quarter of a turn there, and then that's going to pop right out of there. So that's all there is to it. And actually, this is not even in the right way. If you put it in the right way, that arrow should be probably pointed up. Just turn it that little bit, and if you just go, when you go back in, just like that to lock it. But we're going to start with this low beam here. So I wanted to get it out here where you could actually see something. The first thing, we just got the connector itself, or the plugs into the back of the bulb there. Nothing special. You know, you want to inspect this while you're at it, and these wires get brittle and start cracking. You want to make sure everything looks okay, because you could have a problem there. Now with this, it's really easy. If you can see that, let me just get you in here. You can see that clip right there. It just hooks right in the back, and this is just a little spring. Got a little foot over here, and then this part that clips and holds that base. So you just give it a little push down and it kind of unhooks it, and then it just pops right out of there. So don't just go to yanking on it, and then you just fold it back down out of your way. Fold that spring back, and then we just go in here and just grab this one. You notice the notch is pointed down there. So there's our old bulb. So this is, you know, the important part when you're getting bulbs. You want to make sure, notice how the thickness of this metal, the way that it's got the notch. so that all matches. And see, like in this area right down in here is actually where that spring seats. So if you get something and it doesn't look like this, or it's a different thickness, you're not going to be able to get it to clip in there. So again, we're going to just go, we got our notch pointed down, and we're just going to feed that right in there. Okay, I'm hitting something here. Okay. Okay. Give me just a moment. Okay, because of this bigger base, actually I had to start feeding this spring down at the same time I was pushing the bulb down there. It was wanting to catch on it, but now I'm just going in to hook it here. So we're just going to push that back under there, and that's going to lock that. Alright, so all we got to do is plug this in, and we've got plenty of room in this housing here. We're just going to kind of feed it up. Just make sure that it's plugged in good. And now we're going to take our cap. We got the little arrow pointed up kind of to the side there. And we're just going to give that a little bit of a turn. Just like that, it's locked. Right, now we'll just move on to our high beam. Again, you got the little arrow, should be up. It tells you which way there. It's kind of hard to see this stuff, so you have a little more difficulty when you're reaching around in the vehicle, and that's why it's kind of good to know exactly where everything is. And again, this one the same way. We've got a spring, and it has the hook that's going under this side. Okay, so we're going to just push, give that a push. And sometimes you got to push pretty hard depending on how tough the spring is. You can see it's got it out from under that. Okay, and here's a different angle. You can kind of see a little more where it's hooking in on that piece. So now we just got to go in here in the same way. This one goes with the notch down, and we're just going to go back in with our other bulb. These are both the same, and we'll need to again feed this spring down at the same time because of the bases. It doesn't have clearance. I'm going to have to also get around this wire here, so I need to kind of feed that wire around it like so. It's kind of still hard to see with my hand in the way, but I got that wire around that. I'm just feeding it down into its notch, and you can see that the spring is kind of on top of it here now, but I'm just going to work it down. And this one, this spring is quite a bit stronger than that other side for whatever reason. It looks like my notch moved on me. Okay, so I had to make sure my notch. So definitely look as best you can and make sure if you don't have that notch on the bottom lining up, then it's not going to seat down all the way. And once you have that, then it's no problem. So now we can go ahead, and I'm going to push that down under there. That's all there is to that. So we got it rehooked under that notch. So the most important thing is make sure that it's seated, that the notch on the bulb Okay, and again, we're just going to, you know, carefully feed this in and just kind of push it to the side or wherever it's got. There's really plenty of room in here. Okay, so that's plenty good there, so we'll just make sure that it's fully connected real good. Got our arrow pointed slightly over to about about there, about 10 o'clock, and then turn it straight up to 12. All right, so we've got this side and gave you a good view of that. We're going to go ahead and just move over and get the other side installed, and then we'll move on to the fog lamps. Okay, now we're down here at the fog light. Now you can get to this, but you do have to remove part of the fender flap under here. Now the easiest way to get this is to start by popping one of these loose. They snap on each side, and then give that a push down. You note you could squeeze them, but it seems like it's easier just to pry them loose on each side. But then we just give this a twist, and out it comes. So that's all there is. And so we get our other one, we're just going to orient it like that, snap it down, or whichever way it wants to orient. But there's a certain way, as you'll note, the size of these, and you mainly want to pay attention to where the small one is, the two big ones, because it'll only go one way. So hence the reason it needs to go like that. So we'll go ahead and get our LED over here. And again, I like to do a comparison, but these are pretty close to OEM. I like to stay that way because the last thing you want to do is have to modify something when you're doing all this. But there are, you know, always some minor differences, so we will just see how it's going to go here. So we're going to orient it back the way, so just kind of over like that, and it seems to lock in nice and tight. And we'll see if the plug's going to work. Alright, and the plug fits nice and tight. So now we just need to check our lights out and make sure everything's going to be working here. Okay, so here we are going to do this one in the car here. We got our notch going down. And I want to verify that notch is in the right place. Okay, so we got it hooked. We'll just make our connection and just feed the excess back in. arrow side at about 10 o'clock, and then we lock it back in place. Right now I'm moving on to this low beam, and you can see how easy this side's a little bit easier than the other side, but they're both pretty easy to get to. Right. Okay, on this side over here you will have a little bit more difficulty, but because you kind of have to go by feel on this, and but if you kind of like get the idea of where the little clip's at, you can do it. You just have to kind of work with it a minute. But that's going to be this outer one. The low will be your more difficult one just because of the visibility, but you'll know when you get it clipped. Alright, so I'm just going to feed that back up in there, and we're going to get this cap on. Okay, and to show you on this fog lamp, now there is a plastic, and you've also got this big plastic shroud that I've took off of mine, as you can see, that runs under here. So you're going to need to take these little pop rivets, pop this down. See, mine here, I can just reach around mine and feel it here, and basically just going to pop those connectors back loose like I did on the other side, just by reaching around it. But on yours, you'll want to pop this little flap down here. You can't twist it out because the connector prevents you from twisting it because of the stuff that's in the way. So I could reach right up there and get it. So even with without it being on ramps, I can reach up here. So if you can just get this flap, take those out and pop it down, you'll be able to reach up here and probably pretty much just feel for it and get it loose. So we got that. I'm gonna go ahead and just pop the new one in here. We're gonna be all finished up, and most importantly, we're gonna try everything out. And another thing you can do while you're on this side is actually watch your bulb as you can see how to orient it from there and get it locked into place. So you can actually look through this and see that as you're placing it in. So if you can't get under the car. Okay, now this doesn't really do these lights justice because it's not dark yet, but you can see how nice these look already. We've got our fog lamps on and our low beams right now. We'll go ahead and check the high beams out. Okay, and there we have our high beams. Everything's working. So now we're going to try these out once it gets dark. Right, and here's our LEDs. We'll put them on bright. And the video probably really doesn't do the justice, but you really do get a lot more lighting that's spread out. Seems like a lot wider, brighter of a pattern. Right, and here's the bright. Okay, so I tried to give you a dim and bright there, just in the yard. I'm gonna go ahead and take it down the road and we'll get a look at them. I can tell you that the difference is quite a bit. And some of these LEDs are really hit or miss, but these are pretty good lights. I know there are better, and you know, it just depends on how much you want to pay. But you can also get them in different brightnesses. We'll go ahead and put them on bright. But so far I'm really liking them. And supposedly there's a way to adjust the bulb and turn it to where you can get it to reflect differently. Not really for sure on that. I didn't really see any way of moving it, but you're supposed to be able to rotate that bulb. But it's pretty good right here. So anyway, I just wanted to show you these going down the road, and they're doing really well. Alright, so that's going to do it on replacing these headlight bulbs and fog lamps up here. You know, you may only need to replace one of the bulbs or the other, so maybe this can help you out. Definitely happy with these LEDs. I'm going to leave a link. So far, these seem to be really good lights. They were only $25, so I'm happy with them. They're just like the OEM. They go into place, no issues, so I'm happy with them. This, you know, replacing these, really simple, something you can do in probably 15 minutes. But anyways, if you found it helpful, please give the video a thumbs up. As always, invite you to subscribe. If you'd like to leave a comment, please do so. And thank you for watching.